Hello and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Thank you very much for joining me in today's video. Now, the 10th update for Flight Simulator, the whatever they call it, their main, was it SU10? Is that what they call it? SU10 for Microsoft Flight Simulator has just been released just a couple of days ago. And in it, there were a couple of really important things when it comes to flying. So we're not just talking about bug fixes or anything like that, but we're talking about frame rates, things that will improve your flying with graphics and the frame rate. So for lower end computers, or for those people who run at really high graphics or on really large screens or anything like that. And that was both some additional improvements to DirectX 12 and DLSS. Now, DLSS, for those who do not know, is deep learning supersampling. It's a technology by, I think, originally by NVIDIA, and the idea is, what it does is it renders things at a lower resolution and then upscales them using deep learning, i.e. the supersampling bit. So with that now enabled in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you should be seeing graphical improvements if you change the anti-aliasing mode to, well, that supersampling, the DLSS mode. The thing is that Microsoft Flight Simulator is also a heavy system on a CPU, and it runs on, I think this is one of the few systems that still runs on a single CPU thread, which is a bit of a pain. I'm not 100% certain about the single CPU thread though. But in this video, what I thought I'd do is, on my 1080p machine, or my 1080p screen, with my 10700K processor, complete with AIO cooling and a slight overclock and a RTX 2070, I'm going to do a short flight from here, Stansted Airport, over to Heathrow Airport. And right now I'm in my previous graphic settings, so we'll take off with my previous graphic settings. And what I'm going to be looking for on this developer tool here, I'm looking for this to change from limited by main thread, where it's flickering slightly with the GPU, limited by main thread, to limited by GPU. And when it gets to limited by GPU, I'm going to swap to DLSS, yes, that's correct, and let's see exactly how that improves my performance. So make sure you stay tuned and let's see what it can do. I'm going to give this, it's going to be a short test, but I'm going to try and be as thorough as possible, and when I do get to swapping around, I will show you all of my graphic settings so that you know exactly what I'm running, and then I'll give you some impressions, so make sure you stay tuned. Okay, so all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do a basic takeoff. We're not going to do anything fancy here. I am going to just dial in nice and early 109.5, which is going to be Heathrow. It's all going to be manual flying today. Well, hopefully. I've not flown in Microsoft Flight Simulator for a long time, so this could go badly wrong. But hopefully it does not. I should be able to fly this. Yeah, just going to set up, let's just say, 220 is my target there. No higher than 6,000 feet. And just because we are going to be going to Heathrow, I just want to grab a runway, I suppose any runway, let's just say 27, should we say 27 left, which should just be, which should be the 109.5, I think, and that should be 269 on this. So I'm just looking, I am keeping a close eye on this, where it goes green and red and green and red. I'm keeping a very close eye on that. And there is one thing I do need to check, and that is whether or not I have VSync off. VSync is off, great. So that is really, really important. Okay, auto throttle does not need to be armed. We are not. We're doing this all manually. Right, here we go. So just a basic takeoff. There we go. And we're away. Right. So we're getting about 48, 49 frames per second, which is not really great. But as you can see, that is limited by main thread. That's my CPU limiting it. And my CPU is working really hard at the moment, which is quite annoying. I'm now just going to rotate.
Positive rate of climb.
And let's bring it up to, oh, I don't know, 15 degrees. There we go. Gear can go up. Bring that power back slightly. Okay. We seem to still be, so we're at 50, 54, 55, and now you can see the GPUs coming up. Okay. So now I'm seeing limited by GPU coming up. So we just need to keep an eye on that. And we'll just keep climbing. I'm just going to continue doing a 15-degree climb. What I'm going to do is let's switch on some panel lighting here. Give us a bit more. Just give us a little bit more here. Continuing that climb. Still says limited by main thread more than anything. There we go. Still limited by main thread. So obviously they have done some other performance upgrades, which has led to things working out a little bit better. And obviously everything is running a lot smoother now. What I'll do is I will bring in my... Let's bring in our flaps all the way. And now I see limited by GPU coming up a lot more. Okay, still not all the way there, and I am hitting just about hitting 60 FPS. So there is that. I'm now going to start easing off because I need to be able to see where I'm going. I have a plan on this very short flight. Okay, so now we're saying limited by GPU a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to general options and I'm going to switch on DLSS. I'm going to switch it on to quality. Let's see what that changes. Okay, immediately we have lost the limited by GPU in the frame rate counter, or in the frame rate. It's completely gone. So that's a really good sign. Am I leveling off at 5.7? Yeah, let's level off at 5.7. Why not? So that's a really good sign. No more limited by GPU at all. You can see that this bar here has turned completely green, showing that DLSS is indeed working. I'm just going to do a gentle bank here. Lift the nose ever so slightly. We're going to fly over the Lee Valley. And I'm sort of going to turn in and we'll fly perhaps 200, 190. Just trying to figure out what's a good angle to be flying at. Yes, right. Oh, we did have one slight yellow. So, for my machine, everything seems to be CPU bound at the moment. Yep, everything seems to be CPU bound. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch back switch DLSS off again, go back to my old settings, which is TAA. By the way, I did say I'd show you all the settings. These are my settings for my machine. There you go. Let's see what it's like now. And now you can see a lot more in the yellow for the GPU. There is a lot more. However, it isn't as bad as I thought. Now, DX12, I've tried DX12 on this. It is worse at the moment. And they did say it may be worse, which is perfectly fine. So they said it may be worse, so at least I know what that they were expecting, that this might not work. There is going to be a driver update, and there are going to be further refinements. Asoba are going to be doing further refinements, which is, personally, I think that is great. I think that 2 years on, Microsoft Flight Simulator is now, I would say, in a state where I would class it as, yeah, apart from the photogrammetry, which could still be a problem, we're going to see in a moment. Apart from that photogrammetry, this is in a good state. Definitely a much better state than it was before. So yes, we are seeing some GPU limitations again. So let's go back and switch on DLSS. And bear in mind, this isn't an in-depth review. One of the things I am noticing is that all of this becomes a lot more blurry, and there's more motion blur on it, which is quite a weird one. Really, there is a significant amount of motion blur, which is a little bit concerning. There, if you look carefully, you will be able to see it. Everything looks just a little bit more blurry. The motion blur is just a little bit more overall. Just going to take some speed brakes out here. It's about time we started slowing down as we go over London. Yes, everything here as well. I'm not sure what's going on with the loading of anything. Well, that's quite a sharp descent. I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to take a good look at London and ended up doing a way sharper descent than I should have. Let's get some flaps out. But yeah, things are more blurry. That's for sure. Things are a lot more blurry. And I'm not... Oops, I didn't mean to do that. No, bring the gear back up. Did not mean to do that. I think photogrammetry is actually not on. I was going to say, I think, yeah, it's not on. Let's see. Bring the speed brake back in. So there is a downside there, and I'm getting my 50 frames per second, but as I said, I am limited by CPU here. I am very much limited by CPU. Right, we have descended way below the glide. That's okay though. And just looking at if you look at the tapes, the speed tape, altitude tape, we are very much we very much have this weird motion blur available, or happening. I say available, but on the plus side, as I said, we are not GPU bound in the slightest anymore. Now, one thing that I do know is that when I did TAA, I would upscale this slightly, so it was at 125% for that slight crisper image. So what I might do is I might try and get this scaled up, maybe in the NVIDIA control panel, to render at a much more reasonable rate. I've I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing here at all. I'm focusing more on the stutters on the FPS counters. Yeah, we can make it. We can make the runway, not a problem. I should have started turning a little bit earlier, but it's alright. We'll make the runway. If I just go 3... If I just do 290, we'll come back on. We'll be back on path. Also, I'm just looking, if I just move... Right, take a look at the wiper. Take a look at the wiper blade. I'm just going to do some movements here. You can see some like streaks. It's like ghosting as I oscillate with the aircraft. Can you see that? I think that is part of the whole DLSS. I can now descend. I think I'm going to have to bit fast for the... Yeah, I'm a little bit fast. I'll get back on track very quickly. Where is the runway? Going through the clouds. Again, we're not having any issues with graphics here anymore. Glide slope is very much below me. Still cannot see the runway.
2500.
Where is it? Oh, there it is. I see it. I'm now perfectly lined up. I say perfectly lined up, I'm not really perfectly lined up, but it's very difficult to actually see the runway. I wonder if this has anything to do with the... Right, I'm going to swap back, because I'm having difficulty seeing the runway. Let's see if this is any better. No, that's not any better. In fact, that's actually worse, because there's those weird... You saw those weird black lines over there which are gone. Yeah, which are gone with DLSS. Right, I am dropping the nose quite significantly here, and I am going full flaps, and I know the speed is increasing, but I'm on it. I've got this. I've done this before. I've done silly landings before. Okay, again, we are completely and entirely limited by the main thread here. So that's the CPU, nothing else. So that is good.
1000.
That's a really good thing. I do not know what speed I should be landing at, by the way, because I have no reference at all with this, so I'm just doing whatever. But it does work. DLSS does work. It looks decent, but I will say that in its looking decent, it's
500.
It's a little blurry.
400.
That's all I'm going to say. It's a little blurry, but I think if I were to combine this perhaps with DirectX 12, maybe I'd be able to get that main thread processing a little better, and that might give me the extra frames that I need. Now certainly it's sorted out my
50.
it's sorted out my problems here.
10.
Told you, I have landed planes in a worse fashion before. There you go. I didn't know any, I had no V-speeds, nothing on that. Just guessing. Total guesswork. Okay, let's do something here. We're at Heathrow. Let's go back to TAA and let's just see if we end up with GPU bound. Yes. No. Yes, there is. Yes, it is. Look at that. So if you look at the GPU there, now that we're in Heathrow, which is a pretty, you know, it's a heavy, it's a heavy place, heavy on the system. The GPU is definitely struggling here. So the main thread is really struggling, as is the GPU. Interesting. And then again, switch DLSS back on. And you'll see, again, I'm just using it on quality, because the reason I'm using it on quality is because I am limited by my CPU, as you can see. If that was still yellow with quality, that bar there, then yes, I would consider switching that to perhaps performance modes. But I'm limited by my CPU, and until I can figure that one out, there is no point me worrying about my GPU. So, DLSS, does it work? Without a doubt. Is it useful? Definitely. Definitely is useful. What is its downsides? Well, as I said, things look a little bit blurry, and if you look at, well, even this, watch this display. If I move like that, you can see there's that ghosting. Look at this as I zoom out. You can see sort of a ghosting behind it. But that is what you'd expect. Look at these numbers as well. So if you zoom in, if I just maybe there we go. Right, watch this. See the sort of delay on the numbers. But is that a small price to pay for extra frames? Well, if you're struggling and you need an extra, let's say you need an extra 15 frames, or 10 frames, let's say, for these sorts of areas where, as you can see, I'm getting 30 frames per second, 40 frames per second. If I was not CPU bound and I was GPU bound here and I wanted to try and get it to 60, maybe DLSS is a good idea. But I think for the most part, if you have a look at the ND right there, that's a little bit of a struggle there. What I am going to do is I'm just going to switch off this and just perhaps take a screenshot. Is it Control F1? I don't know. Well, I'll just take a screenshot when I'm on the video. But yeah, if you look at the ND, you can see that blurring, and if you can live with that sort of ghosting, then switch it on. Switch this on and it will give you the extra frames you need. Otherwise, maybe for now, I mean, when DLSS 3 is out, and if anybody does bother buying a 40 series graphics card, if you want to spend that sort of money and be conned by Nvidia, but that's a completely different story, then maybe this will be way better. Certainly there will be improvements even on the 10 and 20 series graphics cards with DLSS 3, so there's nothing to really worry about there. But personally, I'm not 100% convinced on this yet. What I am going to try and do is I'm going to try and upscale this a little using the Nvidia control panel off camera. After this video, I'll try and upscale this a little and see if that helps in any way. And if it does, then maybe that is the way to go, but I really don't know. But hopefully that gives you a quick look at DLSS in action without any of the nitty-gritty details of how it's working. You've seen the options, you've seen how to switch it on, how to switch it off, and you've seen the differences right in front of your eyes, with the GPU being more bound with TAA, but everything being clearer with TAA, and then of course the idea of CPU bound systems as well, which is something that Microsoft Flight Simulator does indeed have. So do be aware that if your system is CPU bound, DLSS is not going to do anything for you. If it's GPU bound, it will give you, I'd say, it's probably going to give you about 10 frames. I'd say on a reasonable system, you're going to get about 10 frames. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos on Microsoft Flight Simulator. No, I'm not parking here. I'm just trying to turn the aircraft around. Leave a comment in the comments box below letting me know what you think. Why did that stop? Why did that stop? That's a weird one. Leave a comment in the comments box below letting me know what you think. Are you going to try DLSS? Did this help you? Did this give you a little bit of an idea as to what DLSS does? If you can do so, please do consider supporting me on Patreon. Link in the description box below. Also, you can find me on social media at ECGadgets, for both Twitter and Instagram. Lastly, I have a Discord server that I am opening up the lounge page to everybody. If I've remembered, the link to that, an invite link, will be in the description box below. If not, somebody leave a comment and tell me. That is all from me. For some reason I have somehow stuck my... Yep, I've got my aircraft stuck. Because that's a lot of power and it's going nowhere. I think I might have found a bug. I think I have. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, I'm going nowhere. Despite not having any parking brakes on. Interesting. Well, anyway, that is all from me, and I'll see you next time in Microsoft Flight Simulator.